of this fragile truce? Will the ceasefire hold? Now, those are the questions that are being asked after Israel struck Lebanon and made it clear that Lebanon was never part of the agreement. Quickly, people started highlighting that post put out by the Pakistani Prime Minister asking, was he over enthusiastic in announcing that the ceasefire will apply everywhere, including Lebanon? Now, Israel says it was taken on board by United States of America, which has also clarified that Lebanon was never part of the agreement. So who caused this confusion? What was it that post by the Pakistani Prime Minister put out in absolute haste while announcing ceasefire? He included Lebanon in it. Now, J.D. Vance was asked a question on the ceasefire violation by Israel as claimed by Iran. And J.D. Vance says that Lebanon was never included. United States of America never included Lebanon in the agreement as far as ceasefire is concerned. And there is some sort of a misunderstanding. Listen in.
First of all, I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states. And look, if Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Now, the impact, the repercussion of Israel striking Lebanon was that Iran immediately accused Israel of violating the ceasefire. Iran said that US and Israel are not honoring the commitment they made on ceasefire. Israel maintains that Lebanon was never part of the agreement. US, of course, has backed those claims. You just heard J.D. Vance saying that we never promised it. We never promised that Lebanon will be part of the agreement. So who told Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who put out that post saying that the ceasefire is going to apply everywhere, including Lebanon? Let me go across to my colleague Mayank, who's joining us on the broadcast with more details. The big question, the million-dollar question then is, Mayank, who led to this confusion? If Israel and US are both saying that Lebanon was never part of the agreement, and Iran and Pakistan claiming that it is going to apply everywhere, including Lebanon, was there, several versions of the 10-point plan that were circulated?
So if you see the whole basis for the statements which have made by Iran is Shehbaz Sharif's screenshot, which includes Lebanon in that. And in that, on contrary to it, Israel and the US have in so many words said that, and ambiguously they are saying that that Lebanon was never part of the deal. Whatever it is, actually, that's what happens when a nation which doesn't have an influence over the sides. Because if in traditional terms it is mediation, then the side which was mediating should have an influence to talk on the things, both the sides, and to bring down the things to a mid-level which is agreed upon. Now, in this case, we doesn't see anything happening, and Pakistan seems to be acting like a postman who has goofed up everything. That is what it is seen. But then the larger effect of it is actually, while on the one side, Lebanon is facing a major operation, and one of the biggest by far. And as we are getting the information that almost 250 people have been killed that side. And the US, which is already ready to send its vice president to Pakistan, is in a state of dilemma. Because Iran is saying that unless all the conditions of the ceasefire agreements are met, and in that case, Lebanon is the main condition, actually, basing on which Iran is saying that they'll be walking back. Now, the thing which comes which should be highlighted is the significance of Strait of Hormuz. Because the entire talk was based on the movement which was supposed to be allowed by Iran that side, and which is not seen to be happening. So the quagmire in which the entire operation had brought the world into, it continues. And for a screenshot of Pakistan's PM Shehbaz Sharif, the entire basis of whatever the statements have been made by Iran is Lebanon. Lebanon, by using word Lebanon,
The question is
is
then
from
who misunderstood the terms? US and Israel say they are on board. Lebanon was never part of the agreement, that US never made any such promise. Iran and Pakistan, of course, are saying now that it applies everywhere, including Lebanon. Now, the first impact of this fallout was felt on the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump has already warned that if you do not open it again, then shooting will start. Israel says our finger is on the trigger and any misadventure would be met with a forceful response. Let's take a look at how this confusion prevails. So this is what Shehbaz Sharif, the Pakistani Prime Minister, said. Ceasefire includes Lebanon. And J.D. Vance, of course, countering that, has said Lebanon was not included, that we never promised Lebanon would be part of this ceasefire arrangement. Then, of course, Shehbaz Sharif said ceasefire effective immediately. J.D. Vance went on to say that this is some sort of a misunderstanding. Lebanon was never part of it. Islamabad talks for lasting peace. Deal limited to Iran front. Now, as far as that Islamabad episode is concerned, remember the Iranian envoy earlier confirmed through a post on social media that yes, an Iranian delegation would be going to Islamabad to hold these talks. That particular post stands deleted. My colleague Meghna is with us in the newsroom. Let me quickly go across to Meghna. Meghna, as far as the delegation level talks are concerned, Iran first put out a post confirming that yes, an Iranian delegation would go to Islamabad. Now, there's no clarity either from US or Iran. So what are these talks all about? Who's going to talk to whom?
Well, absolutely. In fact, we're not even sure who's going to turn up, because remember, there are word doing the rounds that J.D. Vance is going to be going. We don't even know if they will go. Now, Iran had posted that they are going to be part of the Islamabad talks, and now they've deleted it. Does it mean that they are not going to go? And remember, it's not going to be, Swati, just one meeting. It'll be a series of meetings till they reach some kind of a decision, which is why 2 weeks' time was taken for the ceasefire. However, 1 week would be wasted with even figuring out whether or not Islamabad is the right area. Of course, the reservations behind that, the irony behind Terroristan, for example, trying to have peace talks at a time when it's already at war on the northern border with Afghanistan, the proxy war that it has always unleashed against India, that's part of its state policy. Should Pakistan be the ideal one? Of course, there are several world leaders, Swati, who have raised their reservations about whether this is the suitable mediator or not, to have people like Shehbaz Sharif, who is seen as just a puppet. And then you have the failed Marshal, Asim Munir. Are these people the best bets when it comes to world peace? Many people don't feel that.
Right. And most importantly, this is a country that gave shelter to Osama bin Laden, and this country is now talking about peace, trying to project itself as the master mediator. Let's quickly take your focus back to what the Iranian envoy earlier said, who confirmed through his post that yes, despite the ceasefire violation from the Israeli side, the delegation level talks will happen in Islamabad, for which an Iranian delegation will travel to Pakistan, will go to Islamabad, will arrive tonight. Now that post stands deleted. So what is one supposed to make of it? Is Iran going to participate in this so-called peace talks in Islamabad or not? So there's no confirmation or clarity on why that post was deleted. Is there any new statement that has come in from Iran, any new communication on whether or not they would be attending? If Iran does not turn up for the peace talks, so-called peace talks happening in Islamabad, then who is the US side going to talk to? Also, that would mean Iran has sent out a very clear indication that they're not willing to be a part of any such peace talks. Iran has already said that ceasefire is not going to be honored. The negotiation, the talks are still going to take place while you continue to violate the ceasefire. Then what's the point of holding the delegation level talks? It has in fact accused both US and Israel of not honoring its commitment. Remember, a ceasefire was first announced by Mr. Donald Trump, the United States President, and Pakistani Prime Minister put out several posts on social media. First, he was ridiculed because there was a paced job that most people noticed. The header of that first post that he put out said, draft Pakistan's Prime Minister's message on X. Then, of course, that was quickly deleted. It was edited and a new post was put out. So there was a controversy right when it came to announcement of the ceasefire itself. And then, of course, Israel hitting Lebanon. Let me go across to Mayank. He continues to be with us on the broadcast. Mayank, the entire focus is on the peace talks now in Islamabad. Whether or not that will happen. Iran has, in a way, you can say it has backed off because that post stands deleted. So until there's new communication, new statement coming in from Iran, we can't say for sure that the peace talks will take place.
Entire ceasefire talk has become directionless now. And unless, as you said, as you rightly said, that unless something comes out from Iran's side, there won't be any clarity on that. Having said that, let us understand one point, and we were trying to make our viewers also understand that aspect, is that Iran has chosen Hezbollah over the kind of toll which it was supposed to get in, allowing the vessels to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So you can understand which side the Iran is standing, and the way the goof up has happened, it clearly signifies that unless a country which has an influence over every side, over every talking side, the rightful, which is logical ceasefire won't happen. And this is what exactly we see, because we had been talking that sort of a postman was, Pakistan was functioning like a postman, and had really been there a clarity on that. And it is the tweet, or it was the screenshot of the tweet which was brought out by Shehbaz Sharif, which has created the major problem, which included the word Lebanon. If you go by what Israel is doing, Israel has continued a major operation on Lebanon side, and they have been hitting hard on that side continuously, right from the beginning of the war, which started on 28th of Feb. So as far as things are concerned, there's no ambiguity in terms of operation from Israel's side. But then there remains a...
But what's interesting here is that right after that announcement of ceasefire, Israel said, the Prime Minister confirmed that yes, it was in full coordination with Israel that the ceasefire was announced. He also denied reports of being surprised, of being informed at the very last minute, emphasizing that Lebanon was not part of it. So the ambiguity clearly is in who posted what. That's when the confusion started. Let's take a look at the entire timeline. Step 1, Pakistan announced ceasefire, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan says that it applies everywhere. That was the claim that he made, which included Lebanon, as per the Pakistani Prime Minister. Number 2, Iran's acceptance based on Lebanon understanding. So Pakistan makes that claim and Iran accepted, backs it. Then step 3, Netanyahu calls Donald Trump. Lebanon excluded from deal. Benjamin Netanyahu also emphasizes that Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire arrangement. Number 4, no clarity on Lebanon. White House does not clarify whether or not Lebanon was part of the ceasefire arrangement. Then step 5, the confusion. Of course, the confusion prevails. Iran's view is that Lebanon is included. Israel's view is that Lebanon is excluded. Then you see Israel striking Lebanon, which was perhaps the most intense coordinated attacks that one has seen ever since the beginning of war. Step 6, ceasefire broken. Israel bombards Lebanon, and the terms of ceasefire, Iran claims, have been broken. That leads to escalation. Iran to exit talks. Hormuz tense again. Now, then you see some face saving happening. White House says Iran's garbage proposal has been binned, which earlier, remember, Donald Trump had called workable, is now called garbage. Step 9, great American mess. JD Vance says there's legitimate misunderstanding because we never promised that Lebanon would be part of the ceasefire arrangement. And the end result is that the ceasefire has been bombed. We saw the most intense attacks take place on Lebanon, and Israel has said that the attacks will continue to take place in Lebanon because Israel's fight against Hezbollah has not been paused. So on one side you have Pakistan that claims peace talks will take place in Islamabad. On the other, Iran has already deleted that post after confirming that a delegation will travel to Islamabad to take part in the peace talks. That post stands deleted. So the future of this truce, this ceasefire, and even the delegation level talks is not known at the moment. Let me go across to Srinjoy Chaudhary, who's getting us more details. Srinjoy, like I said, fate of neither the truce nor the talks, so-called peace talks in Islamabad, are known yet. Can you unmute yourself, Srinjoy? We're not able to hear you. Okay, I think we've lost that line with Srinjoy. We'll try and connect with him again, but there's just confusion at the moment in terms of the ceasefire and the future of the peace talks to be held in Islamabad, because Iran, after confirming through a post that an Iranian delegation will take part, has deleted that post. So one really does not know what's going to transpire, whether or not there'll be talks. If Iran does not take part, then who really is going to talk? Now, Donald Trump, of course, has issued another warning. Donald Trump has told Iran that if they do not open the Strait of Hormuz, then they will continue to shoot. So, in the strongest signal right now coming in from Washington, a clear hardline warning that this ceasefire is conditional and the US military posture has not changed. Remember, this was said even before the ceasefire was announced by both Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, that their finger is on the trigger. Any misadventure or any attempt to break the ceasefire will be met with repercussions. Now, Donald Trump has issued another warning, or a message coming in from Donald Trump, that there is no deal if there's a misadventure or if the ceasefire is not honored, then US will continue to shoot. So that's the warning coming in from Donald Trump. Let me go across to Hina, who's joining us with more details. Hina, looks like nobody at the moment is willing to honor the commitments that have been made in terms of the ceasefire. First, we saw right after the announcement, Israel launching attacks on Lebanon. Iran said that this is a ceasefire violation. Lebanon was included in the agreement, and it's then started to show Pakistan making that announcement. America, of course, has backed off. America has denied making any such promise, and the first impact of all of that has been felt in the Strait of Hormuz. We have Hina joining us here from the news pit. Hina, explain to us how Hormuz has been impacted once again.
Well, Israel is continuously targeting Hezbollah and Lebanon. As a result, Iran has decided to once again close the Strait of Hormuz. And this is the reality. Hormuz is shut again, and day one of ceasefire, we've seen how US really wanted Strait of Hormuz to be reopened. That was the first condition of Donald Trump. But I want to quickly tell you, Swati, about this fee that actually Iran wants to charge. So in total, there are about 8 waterways, 8 sea routes across the country, which includes the Strait of Hormuz, and those sea routes which are naturally made, countries cannot charge any kind of fees. But there are some canals or waterways where we do see countries charging fees. For example, we have Suez Canal, Panama Canal, where Egypt and Panama do charge some kind of fee per ship. As far as Turkish Straits is concerned, Turkey also charges fee. So just like Strait of Hormuz, we have Turkish Straits as well, where fee is charged. We'll see if we can get that graphics also up for our viewers. But Turkish Straits also charges fee, but that's not per ship, but actually per ton of cargo that's being transported. So this is exactly what Iran also wants. So what Iran wants, the question is whether US is going to agree to it, because that is going to be the focus of the talks that are going to take place in Islamabad, if at all Iran decides to take part.
Absolutely, and even that remains uncertain. Whether the talks will take place or not is not known, because after putting out that post confirming that they are willing to take part, that an Iranian delegation will go to Islamabad, that post stands deleted. Now, Hina, I was just talking about the Strait of Hormuz here and the U-turn which has happened in 24 hours. Day one, you see ceasefire is announced, and one of the conditions is to open Hormuz, so then Iran does that. But on ground, the reality keeps changing after Lebanon is hit.
Yes. In fact, there's something also very interesting here. So you've got the Strait of Hormuz here. Iran, ever since the war started, has also got a safe route that it has provided to all the ships. Now, that is, further up north. We'll try and get that graphics up also for our viewers. So there is a safe route that Iran has provided to all the countries, for all the ships, of course, the friendly countries here, because this route is not going to be impacted. This is what Iran has been saying. And yesterday also, when Iranian representative of the Supreme Leader was speaking with Managing Editor Zaka Jacob, he explained to us that we had never shut Strait of Hormuz. Hormuz. It was always open for friendly countries. So there is a safe route that has been provided. According to Iran, that stays. So only with the permission of Iran, ships can really cross over to the other side.
And if they do not seek permission or they violate that, then they can be destroyed. That's also a warning that came in from Iran. Hina, thank you very much for getting us the details. We have some breaking news on the broadcast and we are quickly shifting focus to that. Sea mines in Strait of Hormuz. IRGC map, is that hinting at mined waters is a question that is being asked now. The chart reveals danger zone in Strait. Iran has put sea mines in Hormuz. It's a big warning, in fact. Let me go across to Mayank, who's joining us on the broadcast with more details. What is this map hinting at? Is this confirming sea mines laid by Iran? Mayank?
It is second time that the discussion or the news of sea mines being put in the Strait of Hormuz has come out, and it creates a atmosphere of fear and caution, both, because the kind of the mines can be really deadly and dangerous. Even if one ship is sunk, in that case it will create a problem for the complete passage that side. And mines minded are small and they can travel. There are different kinds of mines. So even if a news has come out, it is going to put every person who is operating in that side to caution. And it's a big thing actually, and this is happening for the second time. Now minded, as far as Iran is concerned, this area has often been, Iran, it is said by most of the experts, this area would be properly mapped by Iran, not only the land but the maritime waters there, maritime sphere there. So if it happens, it is going to create a major problem, which already this place has created, or the war has created for the entire world in that case.
Right, Mayank, thank you for getting us the details. With that, we're taking a very short break on the broadcast.